with a Kiana. I didn't know this was a 1v1 specialty, but it gets pulled out. Gets pulled out either way. Renekton versus Jace is our 1v1. JackeyLove Renekton. Let's get this one on the board, and Tian on Jace as well. Good again to see, right? Like, your jungler's not playing a jungler, or our AD carry isn't playing an AD carry. It's going to be good fun to see this.
I'm very curious to see how this one turns out. I always wonder, like, does JackeyLove go into this like with the expectation that he's going to lock in like a melee champion, or does he like, I'm going to play Varus, and if Varus is banned, I'm going to play... Is there a specific tier list that he's going down and like, oh dang, Xiaohu just banned all 4 of my champions. Well, the next one up, it's Renekton, I guess, if it's not carries.
It seems like a weird step process for him to go through. He's like, okay, Varus, Corki, Draven, they're my 3, you know, but then we do away completely with AD carries. None of the other AD carries are good enough. I must go to Renekton. That's my plan.
Yeah, I don't imagine. I feel like if you were gonna play Renekton, maybe you give it 369. I mean that's like, or it just seems like they're doing it a little bit for fun, which maybe
is entirely possible.
Well. Yeah,
I remember when when we were in Split 1, coaches would be like over them. They'd have players watching, and they'd be like talking in their ear, like, you need to do this, do this, do this, do this, and like the Flandre 1v1s as well. I remember specifically where he's got Dobbaged in his ear, just screaming like, "Do." Trade! You know, I don't know what he's saying, but there's very clearly some form of input from the team there.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of that here as well. And I'm sure 369 has something to say about JackeyLove's Renekton. And speaking of the Renekton, as we load onto the Abyss, that's triple cloth armor here for the Crocodile. We're looking to stay alive and stay healthy.
Triple cloth armor and the door and shield. For reference, the Q damage that Tian put down has already been almost healed up. Like, he's pretty much fully healed.
Too much damage himself. It's not the best start, as Tian looks like.
Yeah, and I mean, JackeyLove on the Renekton, never really an easy way to proc bone plating unless you can get a stealthy Fog of War Q that doesn't really impact you all that much. And you know, you're not going to lose out on the trade, but now he's starting to lose on that Fury as well. He's not got any farm. He's waiting for his health to regen, but already just one bad trade, and Tiana's sort of taking control.
Now, sometimes when the 1v1s look a little cooked, the player will just go in and try to like go for some sort of crazy fight as soon as possible. As I say that, Jackie dashes in a little bit, but sometimes you see them try to play the long game. That's what I'm a little worried about here. Pops a barrier to try to just make sure that shock blast doesn't take him down. Again, 2 levels ahead of JackeyLove right now. Gonna at least pick up a plate or 2 with this massive wave that's been set up here. Yeah, very good about himself.
Either look for the dive, he takes a turret shot. That was pretty suboptimal, but at this stage, it's not too much point to dive, right? If you dive a little bit earlier, you can deny all of those minions, and he's taken 3 turret shots so far in this 1v1, and he's still ahead on HP over JackeyLove, but now he does need to be a little bit careful. Remember, with that Fury and the power Q that you can get through, a pretty decent heal comes off of the Renekton. Already used that barrier, so it's trading some of these spells so far.
Here we go. JackeyLove does not get any more healing. I'm thinking maybe this could have been a little bit of a spicy situation, but he did not wait for the dominance to be up. He does go down first. Tian's in a great position here to get Weibo side slope.
Yeah, can push, get another plate, look for a recall with this Demolish proc, and maybe even takes this wave on his way out. Look like how the man is looking for him. Quick recall though, he's off back to base, and JackeyLove comes out of base with a pair of boots, and Tian comes out of base with a pickaxe, a phage, and a pair of boots. We
bought boots. That's all we were able to get.
Yeah, I mean, he's on food stamps, right? Like, he was not farming, he was getting bullied. Yeah, I mean, this, as long as Tian doesn't just toss the game, this should be good for Weibo.
What are some picks that you're looking for Weibo to select on blue side now? They're gonna be locked in.
Hey man, you know, we could probably see an Ezreal maybe, you know, steal that away. We've got a lot of possibilities.
Just make JackeyLove's life look as miserable as possible. This is the
triple ban the AD carries again. Yeah. We picked JackeyLove to go into the 1v1 as Weibo, actually. We want to demoralize him so much, and then we'll take 3 bans away from him. First pick as well, so it's 4 bans. Yeah, so it's a common strategy, actually. Not Kanavi, not the actual, probably the MVP of the split.
Exactly.
Focus out, JackeyLove.
volume, sometimes the team is as weak as its weakest link, right? And so you can get someone tilted. Maybe that's the start here. JackeyLove does have the dominance, so he's going to try to go for something here, but he just takes way too much damage from Tian and doesn't do enough himself. Oh, he's BMing a little bit before locking in the final auto attacks. That is going to be the side selection going over to Weibo Gaming in this series.
Yeah, and that one, I mean, it was never really close. Let's be honest. Jackie took one bad trade at level 3 on the first wave and immediately lost the 1v1, which is kind of what happens in solo lanes. That's a really good example, actually, for how solo lanes can be very punishing.
Those have become less often as we have gotten later on to the season. So it seems like they're gearing up into an even better form than they were at the start of the season, where they were still winning series, but sometimes dropping some games here and there.
Okay, so looking at our bans overall, not a lot of focus down on that bot lane, taking out a large quantity of those supporting cast characters in the jungle, and then the Nico locked in, rather, presumably for Airhair down in that bot side, to take just an initial engage for Weibo, giving them a way to start fights off the rip.
Yeah, it's been one of Era's strongest champions at the support position. It's been basically banned almost every game on the red side, so a bit surprising to see Top Esports willing to give that one up. But it's a very powerful champion. You can poke really well in that laning phase. You can use that Pop Blossom to mass effect as well. Top Esports, though, are going to be happy about what they got on their side of the draft, though. Ryze and Euphoria, very strong mid-jungle 2v2.
Yeah, and I mean, Weibo will now have to look to try to answer that mid-jungle 2v2, which has been so very powerful for Top Esports, right? With Creme and Kanavi really running the roost of mid-jungle pairings. Weibo, though, locking that Yorick. Probably going to look to lock in a Kalista as well here. A great pairing for the Nico can act as that second engage. Instead, just opting into being able to play this global style. When you have a Yorick locked in, you do want to be able to move around that map. I think that taking the Ryze away by Top Esports is going to be really powerful for them. Weibo might look to lock in something, maybe a little bit like an Ari, just something that you can move around the map with quite easily, and look to support this Yorick, or at the very least try to play on 3 lanes very well. I mean, playing versus Ryze on split push can be quite tricky, so we'll keep our eyes out for what Weibo look to lock in for in that mid lane. And Weibo, I mean, they've got a big task ahead of them. Top Esports with 369 just immediately locking in the Ornn, trying to be a stalwart powerhouse in that top side.
It does mean that Weibo is going to be advantageous in the side laning even more than maybe they were if 369 played a bit of a different champion, right? Because the Ornn's going to want to continuously join the team. Team fighting is going to be the name of the game here. Maybe you send the Ryze up to match the Yoriks at points in the game, but overall, if you're Breathe, your goal is to basically be sitting on a side lane basically the entire game.
Yeah, and there's a possibility here that Top Esports are just saying we don't think Weibo can play side lanes well enough to punish us. And actually, if we just take a heavy engage in our own right, we can just find enough fights and push fast enough and faster than the Yorick, really. So with Weibo here, I mean, they've got already a decent amount of disengage, I will say. That Nico itself is a very good disengage tool as well as a great engage tool. So if Neferi jumps in, if there's a Realm Warp on top of you and Ornn there, you know, Nico loves that. It's great that she builds Proto Belt and can get into the fight and start it off. But equally, Nico initially, before people were building Proto Belt and putting her support, was just a really good disengage champion. Great at people diving on her, so she could lock them all up as well.
Yeah, a lot of different ways that you can play this Nico, and looks like maybe it'll be more of a disengaged, more supportive role this time around, as 2 of the best lane duos that go alongside this Nico, the Kaisa and the Kalista, both taken away by Top Esports. That is the price that Weibo have to pay by locking in this Pantheon here on the 2-3 instead of finalizing their bot lane, getting something in for Light. So now with the options thinned a little bit towards the bot lane, it'll be interesting to see what exactly Weibo does want to lock in to round out their composition. But first, we're going to see either a support or an AD carry taken here. I'd imagine JackeyLove just gets his pick of the litter. Now, he's been very good on the Ezreal, as we saw in a couple of those clips, and there it is, locked in for himself in Game 1.
Yeah, I'm a little, not necessarily concerned, but worried, let's say, for how Weibo get onto this Ezreal so far. I mean, yes, Nico, yes, Pantheon, but they're a little bit let's call it, difficult engages to find on an Ezreal. They're really good at finding immobile targets. Ezreal's really good at repositioning himself and preventing that from happening. But the Nico-Galio combo getting locked in for Weibo, really solid. They are missing like that true heavy-hitting damage. So something for Light that can really pop off in a team fight is what I'm looking for. They've got really good burst damage here coming through with that Pantheon, with the Galio, the Yorick on a side lane. And then maybe the Varus just to chip people down to begin with is how they're going to look to try to play this out.
Not necessarily the highest damage unless you're going like that on hit, especially later on into an Ornn. If you are going lethality, Varus, I do question if 369 will ever die in this game. But so I imagine that is what Light will be going for. We're going to match poke with poke here to round out this draft for Top Esports. Chris is going to lock in that Karma to go with that Ezreal Karma lane up against a Varus Nico combination for Light and Erha. Overall, Top Esports very much about team fighting with that Ornn, making sure that you scale into that late game. Whereas Weibo, they want to scrap a little bit more and allow for Breathe to live on that side lane.
And importantly as well, this Top Esports roster can look to try and match side lanes. Handling a Yorick here might not be as difficult. Karma, Mantra, Shields get people to maneuver around the map very quickly. The Realm Warp as well. You can move to side lanes and cheat a little bit of tempo with that Rise ulti. So they do have some answers to this Yorick if it's not something that can be handled easily by 369. But I do want to quickly point out, and I think that you hit the nail on the head here, that actually we could very well see the lanes and the matchups in the mid to late game sort of change a little bit. Usually you'll see top laners match top laners, mid laners match mid laners. But this time round, I would be very surprised if Top Esports don't put the Rise up against the Yorick. The Rise has got a lot better wave clear, a lot better ability to keep the Yorick at bay, especially if he goes for that phase rush. And you can keep him locked up with that Rune Prison. You can typically find a couple of autos to get out of that cage if you get hit by it. And you can clear the waves in front of the Yorick as well and make sure that he can't actually take turrets in your face like he could do in an Ornn.
So that is potentially a late game plan here, set up for Creme, as him and Kanavi have been a really big part of Top Esports' success so far this season. And they're going up against Weibo, who have lost 5 series in a row, but took Top Esports the distance the last time they faced off in that first round robin, desperately trying to break that 5-match loss streak to get themselves on a bit of better footing heading into that play-in stage for them. Whereas Top Esports want to establish their dominance as one of the best teams in the LPL, one of the best teams in the world, by continuing their streak and getting themselves into a great position to start off the playoffs. Getting ready to get onto the Rift for game number 1, Top Esports versus Weibo.
Okay, the Shanghai Arena has let me down. My absence of Gyos.
Okay, they suck. What are we doing?
I love that the LPL.
There.
Okay. Well, we need to wait for a minute apparently in the future, so we can leave that a little bit longer.
I like what you said.
I expect our JDG BLG one to have a lot sooner.
Yeah.
What were you
I like
going
what
to
you
say?
said when the camera immediately panned. It was just somebody looking at their phone, just like eyes straight down.
Yeah, I did not care.
So.
Like, oh, is there League of Legends going on here? Oh, my bad. Sorry. Forgot about that. Am I interrupting you? You're TikTok scrolling? Sorry.
Remember, our match of the week coming up in our second series between BLG and JDG, but we think this one could maybe provide a little bit of firepower as well. And we got a bit of a replay here to just show 369 hovering around the bot lane early to start this one off. But they're all back to the normal arrangement here, as it's going to be topside start for both junglers. They're pathing down to make sure they can impact these highly volatile double range 2v2.
Yeah, and I will say as well, looking quickly at those runes, it is going to be on-hit Varus for Light. He's got Ghost as well, so the power in this 2v2 innately not going to be quite as high as usual. Definitely looking more towards scaling, more towards being able to handle 369 in those team fights. My issue is that if he ever has to go blow for blow with Creme, for example, with Kanavi, the on-hit Varus better suited to be able to take those down, but he might still struggle.
I mean, this 369 champion, this Ornn is going to be very, very tanky. Even if, Light is building on hit, is building all the max HP, all the damage that you could possibly dream of here. Just seeing this big tanky Ornn on the front line. Even Kanavi, as you mentioned, has a lot of tools at his builds. A lot of armor that you can potentially pick up with things like the plate steel cap and the depth stance, which I imagine could both be in the works for Kanavi as we continue to go later on into this game. A little aggressive shift forward here for JackeyLove and Chris, because they've been the ones to get pushed so far in this bottom side.
Yeah, and worth remembering that Arcane Shift, not just a tool for mobility, but does also have damage on it if it's able to land. So going forward, just to throw a Q out, you're losing out on a little bit of damage that you're looking to pop down onto your enemies. However, you can see with the cleanse as well for JackeyLove that actually both of these AD carries don't have barrier, which seems to be a bit of a staple in the current iteration of bot lane summoner pairings. As Kanavi now moving into the jungle on a ward.
I think he just realizes that he's not going to be able to get that crab in the bot side, so instead, running straight up top lane, helping Creme clear the wave a little bit as he heads up there as well. So it will be that even trade is flash away from Chris as we got some summoner spells being burned down here. The root is going to land onto Light. The piercing arrow that was empowered is going to chunk JackeyLove to 200 HP, but he's going to go right into Tian's arms. He misses the Comet Spear, though, and that means that JackeyLove will be alive as the teleport comes in. Oh, look at the movements from Jackie, getting away from the Qs of both Light and Tian, and that means that Tian is nearly going to go down as the teleport comes in from Creme. How has nobody died? It might be Xiaohu now in a little bit of trouble as he's the Justice Punch away as soon as channeling that teleport comes through. Kanavi can jump over the wall, look for a little bit of extra engage, but not going to be able to find any kills somehow, some way. Nobody dies in that fight.
Yeah, Jackie with some really good summoner spell usage underneath that turret there, and nobody goes down. Top Esports definitely getting aggressed upon too, though. I love this from Weibo. Their aggression in this early game, knowing that they've actually got the run of things down on that bot side, and they're not going to let that go. Really solid performance from Weibo, maybe a little unfortunate and getting outplayed to not find those kills, but again, Tian with a couple of low HP bars, he manages to limp away himself. So both of these teams, lots of pretty colours, nobody goes down, and 369 is actually trading not too badly on this top side.
You know, as the Ornn, I think you can break the cage with the steering charge, if I'm not mistaken, so that might be a little interaction that could be useful for surviving the laning phase against this Yorick, who can be very oppressive, especially against like an immobile tank. So that is another slight advantage potentially for 369 in this one. Crucially, off of that last play, all 4 summoner spells for the bot lane of Top Esports were burned. There's no cleanse, no heal, no flashes here for JackeyLove or Chris. Meanwhile, Light still has his flash and goes back to safety, and I think that means that Tian is going to want to get back into that position to try to take down one of those bot laners.
Yeah, and you can see the shift up for these two teams as well, is that, well, now my bot lane is a little bit more exposed. I'm immediately shifting them into the mid lane, so that there's a shorter lane, so that it's more difficult for them to get ganked and that they can keep on farming. It does put Creme in a little bit of a worse position, right? Like, he's now got to be careful. He has got his own flash still, but he needs to be a little more cognizant of how he plays in this side lane, especially with Tian moving his way down to that bot side.
Yeah, looks like Top Esports knows that Chris and JackeyLove keep the targets as well, which means that they want to play in a little bit of that shorter lane, as you were saying. Tian getting a little movement speed by popping the E, then immediately going on to Chris, who again does not have any summoner spells, and that means that first blood will be secured by Weibo. But here comes the Realm Warp as Top Esports want to try to make a respond. They force the flash out of Light, and it'll just be a trade of supports as Arrow goes down to Jackie.
But that's a lot of summoner spells committed again. It's Creme's flash going down. They do trade it for Light's flash, so a worthwhile trade for the bot laners here. Kills going on to Tian and to JackeyLove, respectively. So a little bit of gold in the AD carry, a little bit of gold on the Pantheon. Going to be interested to see who can leverage that gold and make the most of it. We know that putting gold on JackeyLove is never a bad idea. He's been one of our more stable clutch factor players. Xiaohu here walking in.
They really want to fight this here. It's dragging down to 1000 HP. It's stolen away by JackeyLove somehow on the Ezreal of all people. And Tian's going to go down first. It's a trade of the junglers though. And now a 3v3 has opened up. Xiaohu is very low though. He's going to have to flash over that Dragon Pit wall as Creme is looking to continue to hunt. Light still does not have that flash. Going to get hit up by the Rune Prism, but now Creme does not have any mana left. Just a couple of more spells can be issued by the Rise. Looks like they're instead target Erha here. The health bars are once again low, but JackeyLove gets taunted up, and everybody on Weibo will escape.
Again, another 1-for-1. This time it's both junglers paying for their lives, and neither one of them able to find that smite key effectively. It's JackeyLove that steals the Drake away in the midst of all of the chaos. Also, again, it's the kill this time going on to Chris. Both of our supports getting a little bit kill hungry after being taken down earlier on. And it's just these early game fights where mana bars aren't quite as high as teams might need them to be. So Creme's not able to consistently do the DPS because he's only got an early stacking tier. He's not got a lost chapter picked up. But Weibo, they're not stopping here. They tried to fight for the Drake. They're now looking to fight for these grubs. And they may just get them. Top Esports, though, starting off this dragon. It's a great taunt by Xiaohu to get in here. And the idea being to try and focus down the dragon. I think if they'd have taken out Kanavi first, looked at the Drake afterwards, could have looked a little bit better. But the fight lines are just easier for Top Esports. I think that JackeyLove committing onto this bot side into Xiaohu, who is definitely going to have to flash that wall, maybe means that they don't quite find a kill here on this top side where they could have done. And all of a sudden, you can just see that it's such low HP bars on either side, and Xiaohu with a really good taunt. Manchukuo not quite finding the damage. And Weibo, again, lucky almost to get away without only losing only one person.
We're practicing our Mundo dodgeball.
Yeah.
Here's a lot of talented skill shots or dodging here for all of our players in this game number 1. If a couple more of those abilities land, we could be looking at a much bloodier game so far. But instead, we're at a point where 9 minutes in, the feats of warfare have not been claimed by either team. Instead, it is Dragon for top, 3 grubs for Weibo. So that is kind of the objective counter that we are matched up with right now in a very close game to start this off, even though we were expecting Top Esports to be the heavy favorite.
At this point, Kanavi gets the smite.
Going to be able to survive for now as Crisp and JackeyLove are here alongside Creme. Now Tian and Xiaohu could be caught out just a little bit as flashes have to be used to get away from the chain of corruption. A really high value True Shot Barrage comes through from JackeyLove. It chunks arrow down to 300. And now we can shift forward, looking for more damage onto Light. Another Mystic Shot connects, and that chunks Light down to 400 HP. And the health bars once again chunked out on Weibo's side, but still no casualties as now the red buff can be the target for Kanavi.
Yeah, and this is a really tricky contest for Weibo. Their health bars are not high enough. Missing out on some crucial summoners as well. Erha still not level 6. Crisp leading the charge, leading the way in, and JackeyLove got that move. Creme has as well. Top should just be able to take this. It's a smite.
Might Q here for Tian and make sure that red buff goes over, but here comes the Realm Warp. Creme very far forward, gonna go straight in onto Xiaohu and secure the feats of warfare for Top Esports, so they don't get the red buff, but they do claim a kill as their prize.
Yeah, that felt like a little bit of an illegal contest here for Weibo. They pay for it with Xiaohu's life, who, I mean, in this situation, right, you're playing the Galio, you have to be the one to step forward, so he protects his team, but does go down for it, missing out on a little bit of experience. It means that he's got to burn this TP now to get down to this bot lane so he doesn't fall even further behind. You can see Creme has hit that level 8 marker. Xiaohu should be able to get into it just with this next wave. But this top side as well, I think we need to quickly touch on. Quietly Breathe is mounting a bit of an advantage. He's already burned a second teleport from 369 into that top side. So there is a TP advantage for Weibo on this Yorick. Of course, the issue is that when Yorick has TP advantage, he TPs to a side lane and doesn't impact the map.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some team fighting Yoriks at times. Down at the bin, I think got like a quadra kill at some point, but obviously he's much more valuable in that side. You can immediately see, as soon as you mention it, Rudy, you used that teleport to get right back to the top side. So now 369 will have the spell a little bit earlier than him, as he actually doesn't burn a flash to make sure that he is able to get out of that one here. So nicely done by Breathe. He's going to be able to generate a lot of pressure here, and with 369 forced to back, maybe he can pick up a plate for himself unless Top Esports can respond.
Yeah. Oh my word.
Oh
okay,
wow.
Should die here. Has no flash. Not quite able to get in time.
Airhud. Oh wow. A lot of spells
No,
utilized. Not going to be able to find
no.
anything. The Pop Blossom doesn't connect. Airhud just goes down. It's going to come at the cost of a couple of plates for Weibo, but Top Esports get away with somehow getting a kill out of all of that.
Yeah, that was a difficult watch, I think is the polite way of saying that. Lots of whiffed skill shots, lots of ultis expended that didn't quite hit the marker, and they don't even get that turret on that top side. Maybe just a little bit too deep from Weibo there to try and find that kill. On to 369. You know, Erha, he's used his clone to scout a route out, and then instead of using that path that he's found, goes around the side with a blast cone. Now Erha with, once again, no ulti.
Oh, Tian still lands a stun, even though Creme buffers it away with the flash. That means he's able to generate enough distance for Kanavi to arrive, and that means Tian is in a lot of trouble. The overload barely dodged away from. These skill shots are just repelling away for the champions in this game.
It's yeah, we're calibrating, right? This is game 1 for a reason, and then we'll load into game 2, and it'll be Cassiopeia only for both sides, right? No skill shots needed, where we're just twin
click only.
Yeah, and for the most part, right, like this has been a very close game. Currently, though, Top Esports just coming out on top of the final few trades that we've seen. And looking at these compositions as we move later and later on, the range advantage that Top Esports are going to have is actually quite powerful. Like, getting access to JackeyLove isn't going to be easy for this Weibo side. They've got this really solid side laner, and Breathe has to be that carry for Weibo. He is the one part of the map that's going really well for them. The rest of the map is not quite living up to that expectation. I think Light as on-hit Varus this game is going to struggle in the auto-attack or spell trades. Kanavi immediately flashes out.
Passive flash there from Kanavi, but it might actually pay some dividends since the rest of the team has arrived around this river on the bottom side. The Dragons available for Top Esports to try to take would be their second of the game if they can pick up the Cloud. It looks like that is what their focus is, even though the Scuttler did go to Weibo off that play.
But I do think this is really smart from Top. They've sent Creme to match Breathe, which is the allocations we were talking about earlier, where they can match side lanes and match the push of the Yorick.
How aggressive do we want to go? Comet Spear goes over, but it is going to get smited away here by Kanavi. So second dragon of the game secured by Top Esports, and Creme, as you mentioned, going to be able to do a nice job of holding Breathe and making sure that he's able to wave clear all the minions to make sure the tower doesn't go down.
Yeah, I'd like to see Tian actually just move up to this top side, try to take his turret down. You can see Creme actually 2 levels down on Breathe, knows that he can't really contest it at all. Tian moving into this top side of the map at the very least to support, has still got that Grand Starfall, so can move in if needed. And Breathe, you can see, it should be looking to control these side lanes. He's actually so far ahead of either one of the solo laners that his lead is going to, first of all, keep compounding because he can move in, take these jungle camps away. But also, we're talking about the power of the Ryze being able to hold the Yorick. I mean, the Yorick at this stage might just be able to walk up, kill the Ryze in his face, and maybe even under that turret.
And taking a full turret with, I think, 4 of the 5 plates here for Breathe is going to feel pretty good. He might be one of the richest players in the game at this point. However, it doesn't mean that Weibo are necessarily favored here. It's still in that 5v5. Kanavi buffers away the stun from Tian by using the untargetable. And so he'll be able to get on out. But now it's at half HP with the Maiden doing a lot of damage before eventually getting taken down as the Rift Herald is available. Looks like Weibo, though, are the ones that want to start this up because Kanavi's so low.
Yeah, they want to be able to use this Rift Herald to break open the map a little bit, give Breathe a little more room to play this side lane. TP's coming in from both sides.
Oh, they could try to lock down 369 though, as he goes into a bad position and gets taunted up, and there goes Erha with a massive Pop Blossom. It takes up 3 and makes sure that 369 goes first in the fight. Oh, now it's a 4v5 across the map as the Rift Herald gets re-aggroed by the side of Weibo Gaming. Kanavi trying to find some way to jump into the pit. The call to pack is available, but he doesn't want to use it as a one-way trip, so it gets secured by Weibo. Now Tian's looking for the community. Grand Star fall forward. They found JackeyLove without any flash, and now with only 0 HP, finally the hail of arrows is going to take him down as Light finds the kill. And another skirmish that is won by Weibo Gaming.
And this time they get a decisive victory. It's 2 kills and the Herald with no response from top. They walked in to try and contest, and they were unsuccessful in this. Weibo used the power of this Yorick, this top lane fiend that they've been able to harbour and that they've been able to grow out of this top side. Immediate cage goes down, and despite the flash, there's a taunt waiting. Xiaohu was initially looking to just zone off the rest of Top Esports, catches 369 on his way out, and Erha just spaces out the rest of Top Esports. Call out a couple of people initially, and then they look for this fight. They secure the smite, get the Herald, immediately fighting again.
Oh yeah, we got some tank combat here. Call to Fortune was cancelled by some nice crowd control of Xiaohu, and that means that there is no extra follow-up here for Top to try to continue the play. Instead, they're looking towards Creme, who just roamed straight to his death. It is Xiaohu to collect the gold there, as Top Esports making another crucial mistake, and it's Weibo Gaming that now have almost a 2,000 gold lead.
And we're getting here the shades of Top Esports from a couple of weeks ago, where their game number 1s aren't quite the highlights. I mean, even in their 2-2-0s, right, there were still early game fights that even WE were able to take against them. BLG have found a couple of really solid fights. At JDG as well, we know a team that can take games against Top Esports in the early stages. So Weibo here looking like a reinvigorated roster after that 5th consecutive loss. Coming into game number 1 at the very least with a very solid performance. Currently up 2k gold. They've got a really strong Yorick that they can look to use on that side lane. 202 Light as well, who's been so far able to find really good purchase in these team fights. If that can continue, who knows what this Weibo team can do.
It'd be a very Weibo Gaming-like thing. Like we've seen kind of during Worlds in 2023 and 2024 to not look very strong during that regular season, and then all of a sudden just like, you know, turn it up in the moments that matter. Getting them to the internationals. If Weibo somehow go from 6-9 to beating top esports and like all of a sudden like being a real threat in the postseason, that would be very indicative of kind of what this team has been able to do throughout the years. So you see Erha trying to play some bait here as that minion, but just gonna use it for one timer here, as now Weibo can set up around this dragon. The Chemtech Drake about to spawn. They want to make sure they don't give up that soul point.
Yeah, and this is giving shades of the series that we used to get at the start of Split 2, where teams would trade 2 Drakes for 6 Grubs. But this time it's Herald and 2 Drakes plus the Grubs that we're seeing traded against one another. And now is when Weibo don't have an obligation on that top side of the map, so they look to walk into this mid lane and try to fight for that bot side objective to stop Soul Point going over to top Esports and to maybe look at starting their own Drake stacking as well. That Rick Herald goes down, it does get the charge off, so a decent chunk onto that mid lane tier 1 turret. But the rest of Weibo now with a decision to make. Do they want to spend time waiting in this bot side?
He's out of position, but he's actually going to find the stun still on a 2, forcing Kanavi to flash away. True Shot Barrage doesn't find anything, but here comes the Call of the Forge God. He's going to knock up Tian, but he used the H to keep himself alive for a little bit longer. Here's that hero's entrance. It does not find a knockup, and Xiaohu now has to run for the hills. Taunt lands on a 369 as everybody is here around the Dragon Pit.
They're going in.
Comes the Realm Warp. Creme is sending in the artillery, and they've taken down Light. Tian the next to follow, as it's going to be top esports picking themselves up 2 kills, and they can peel right back towards the Drake, unless they want more blood here into this game. Looks like only the 2 kills is what they'll get, and they'll claim that soul point as a reward.
Yeah, Light finally goes down. This 202 Virus shut out of that team fight, and 369 comes in with a big Call the Forge God to start it off. It's Creme with the Realm Warp that seals the fate of Weibo Gaming. Drake's going to be secured. Atakan's just spawned as well. The delicate timing on that might well indicate top esports pick themselves up a 2-for-1. And just like we talked about, Grapes, this is a team, a roster of players who they've been showing weaknesses. They've not been the strongest teams through the early game. But when they need to, in that clutch factor moment, they can step up. They can come into team fights. And they can win them.
And some pretty big mistakes here as well from Weibo. I mean, Era got technically a 2-man Pop Blossom, but probably shouldn't have been in this position to begin.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking for different targets. If that Pop Blossom onto Jackie and Chris, then those 2 players just die instantly, unfortunately. It's Kanavi who can flash out, and it's 369 who you never really wanted to focus in the first place. And from this entire situation, right, look at how free JackeyLove is. The threat onto Creme as well, not really present. Breathe just puts the Shroud down and then walks out immediately. And it's a great collapse and catch from 369. Catches Light with a searing charge into the wall, and Varus with no summoners. He tried to use the Ghost, but with no flash, wasn't able to get away.
And there's a difference between the compositions of top esports and Weibo Gaming. Around those 5v5s, it's going to be top that has the advantage because it is a Yorick versus a Ornn in the top lane. When you're playing the Ornn, you're not playing for the laning, you're not playing for picking up towers. You're there for the crowd control, you're there for the team fights, and we saw that there with 369 landing that searing charge onto Light that eventually led to his takedown. Meanwhile, Breed, he did maybe a little bit of damage with the nade, but never was super impactful in that one.
Yeah, he put down a little cage. The cage got broken, and then he walked away. Right, like the like you talked about, the impact is very different, and I think that might need to be, or that might be the key that indicates to Weibo, actually, we kind of need to play through this Yorick. We picked it for a reason, to be the side lane threat, and the team fighting power that we get from it is not going to match what an Ornn can do. So, are we just going to accept that and try to play sides, try to take down Creme instead, which might be their better route to success? Especially when they've got this Pantheon and the Galio as well, right? They've got such good cross-map capabilities to support this Yorick, and they're not looking to do that just yet.
Now, you know, he still continues to grow his lead against 369, but is that going to matter if top esports can still continuously find objectives and find fights across other areas of the map? And even now with Creme matching him, you know, it seems like there hasn't been as many towers that have been taken by Breathe in these last few minutes. It's really been top esports taking control. They now take out this mid-tier 1. That's their first tower of the game and really pushing in Breathe in this situation. And now here comes the rest of the squad to try to reinforce.
Yeah, I mean, the point is, right, like, yeah, it's good that Breathe has this 1.7k gold lead over 369, but he's never laning against 369. You know, the Ornn is just walking around with his team, and it's actually Creme who's there and who is that threat on that side lane to try and handle. And Top Esports, with having the run of the rest of the map as well, can just really easily move in, shut down this Yorick, and carry on with their day as though nothing has really happened. You can see Galio's able to split push on that top side, but I can tell you for sure the turret-taking capabilities of a Galio do not compare to that of a Yorick, and the 2 side lane turrets have already been taken in that top lane, so there's nothing really even to gain up there for Xiaohu.
Yeah, all you're buying is a little bit of time until you have to go do that again, right? And make sure you catch the wave around your tier 1. As maybe Top Esports strategy should just be bring the 5v5 to the Yorick if the Yorick's not going to want to play the 5v5s himself, as that was exactly what they did there to take the tier 1 down bottom. As Top Esports, they are even in gold with Weibo, but again, we like their situation in terms of scaling and also what they look like in the 5v5. We have the ornament start to come through as 369 has hit level 14. The upgraded Spear of Shojin early on for Kanavi is going to allow for this Neferi to be very powerful around this potential Chemtech Soul fight that'll be breaking out in about a minute's time.
I mean, now's this time, right? Can Weibo just use Breathe to walk up and hit this turret? And they've even got 4 members down on this bot side, and they still don't feel comfortable, right? Like, Creme is the one walking up, taking turrets, and this is really damning for how the Weibo composition would like to be playing. And Top Esports at this stage, even though they're only 500 gold to the good, seem to be running away with this, right? Like, the momentum of this game is so much further in their favor, with Creme just able to take side lane turrets, with, unfortunately, Breathe unable to do anything of that like. It seems like they need to make a move for it. Flash as well from 369 there.
Not expecting that flash. I feel like 369 would have probably been okay there, but that's going to be a crucial summoner spell now down.
He loves it. He loves the flash. Like, every time that cage goes down, I've seen him flash out of it. It's crazy. Like, just any chance? Yeah. Nah, that's death. That's death.
Claustrophobic for sure.
He is. Breaks the walls down and then flashes anyway.
We have this drag spawning. Again, it would be Chemtech Soul for Top Esports if they can pick it up. But again, the 5v5 is not necessarily what we're looking for. It's Creme popped his on here. So I don't think that was necessarily intentional here. And we'll see if that ends up becoming a factor at TES.
It's okay. He meant to proto belt. It's fine. That's my cope for any time anybody misclicks on this. He doesn't have one.
All right, well, we're going to JackeyLove, forcing the flash and the arcane shift. However, that's all the cooldowns that are at their disposal. And now Weibo getting hit by the Call of the Forest God. The Realm Warp does not send any members in. And so Top Esports happy to play with range, happy to try to poke out here with these mystic shots of JackeyLove, who has been so clutch on these Ezreals in important moments in these late game team fights, as they want to make sure they claim this soul for themselves. Dragon is started up once again. Tian's going to have to find some way to get in this pit.
How do they get in though, right? Uses flash.
Okay, Pop lost them. It finds Chris. They're going to try to stun him down, take down the Karma, but the Karma will live for so long. Finally going down, but that means the soul is controlled. 369, 1v5ing, and barely unable to survive, as it's going to be another kill picked up for Tian. But now, JackeyLove's full HP, and JackeyLove can free hit onto the rest of Weibo Gaming. The Arcane Shift will find himself another kill, and the True Shot Barrage comes out. It's a double kill picked up for the Ezreal, and Top Esports get themselves the fight, as well as the Chemtech Soul.
Yeah, it's a 2 for 2 in the skirmish, but it's the soul that goes the way of Top Esports. That permanent buff is now in their favor. They have push in bot lane, push in mid lane. They can now look to control whatever part of the jungle, whatever side of the map that they want. And with Baron spawned as well, Top Esports now can move very easily into this mid lane, into this top lane, and try to take down that big purple worm. It's another big performance from the Top Esports carries. 369, Creme, and JackeyLove all stepping up in this team fight. And you can see it here that Erha looks for an engage, Tian as well. It's a really synchronized engage from Weibo. It's just on to the wrong person.
Now we're looking for another fight here for top. Erha is very low again. Kanavi is 6 levels up onto that Nico, and that'll be easy pickings here for Top Esports. They control the topside jungle. They control every facet of Summoner's Rift, as they now can make their way towards the Baron and take it down.
And just to add insult to injury, stop the recall from Tian. The Baron will go down. There's no contest to be had. And this just puts all of the win conditions of Weibo into utter disrepute. The only way that they'd really be able to find any sort of purchase in this game is using Breathe in a side lane, but trying to do that as Yorick up against a Baron wave is just going to be so difficult. The Ornn at this stage in the game, I mean, honestly, might be able to hold the wave quite easily up against the Yorick. And, you know, you just think, what can Weibo do at this stage? Light is 2.5 items deep. Maybe when Terminus happens, he can finally cut through. But the team fight that we saw around that Dragon, Light was 10% HP versus pretty much just 369. So it's not getting... It will get easier for the Varus, don't get me wrong, but it's not getting there anytime soon.
That's the problem here for Weibo's team fighting composition specifically, is that they have so many divers that want to go forward. But the big damage, the people who need to do the DPS, it's just Light on this Varus, on this on-hit Varus who, you know, compared to lethality Varus is much shorter range. And so after you use all these engage tools to go forward for Weibo, there's not as much to peel him back and peel away from him. And that means that Light is very susceptible to just eating a ton of damage from Creme or just getting outranged by JackeyLove, you know, specifically. And so it's been really tough for him to play these fights, even though he's 2-1-3 and is the primary carry for this Weibo competition.
Yeah, it's just he's not particularly set up, right? You've talked about it there, and it's exactly right that he is just going to struggle. He's going to get poked out. That's 2 Mystic shots, and he's half HP. Now, he does have Blade of the Ruin King, so there's a little bit of sustain if he can auto-attack, but that's always been the question. Now, looking up at that top side as well on the mini-map here, you can see Breathe. He's taking away a red buff, but that's not your goal at this stage. You want to be taking these turrets. Like Top Esports are doing to you, you can see just Mantra Shield, walk up, gets a couple of autos, and with a little bit of poke that they've been able to put out, that's the base broken open.
And Breathe was taking a red buff on the other side of the map. He's not with the team at the moment. He's, again, their strongest, their richest player. As it should be this bot lane inhibitor going down with just a couple of more auto attacks, a couple more shots from this cannon minion. And now they can turn their sights into mid. Tier 3 taken down by Kanavi alone. Breathe is still up at the top side. And now Top Esports can just maybe just go for the end at this point, as long as this Yorick isn't there. 369 around to make sure that there is no chance for a backdoor, as now the fight begins in earnest. Here's the Grand Starfall. They're going to try to lock down JackeyLove, but Tian is too far away. He tries to dive onto him, but every one of his team is going to fall before they can even reach the Ezreal. And JackeyLove still won't die. He picks up 2 kills for himself off the back end of things. And Breathe goes down on the backside just as he arrives back in base. A clinical 30-minute win for Top Esports over Weibo as they continue their dominance in Split 2 of the LPL.
And game number 1, Top Esports, they are back in form. There was a shaky start here. Weibo had a couple thousand gold lead at some stage, but Top Esports, they came back in that fight around the Dragon, finding the Atacon straight afterwards as well. And it's that team fighting from Top Esports that once again shines through. Everybody putting up exactly what they needed to do, and 369, I think in particular, clutching these team fights, just on duty. Really, really put to good work.
It's the classic, it's like the textbook Top Esports win, right? You lock in a team fight composition. You die a little bit in the early game. You have some for fun moments. Maybe you give over a couple of objectives like the Rift Heralds or the Grubs or whatever. But then you lock in. We're leaning back in the chair, and then we go in and we like really focus up. And that's what happened there in that one. I think JackeyLove again has time and time again, despite some early laning mistakes that we've seen from him, some positioning errors at times, when he gets to these late game fights and he's playing a champion with agency like this Ezreal, it's very scary.
I think when he's got an enchanter at his back as well, you'll actually find that he's a completely different beast when he tries to take these team fights. He knows he can arcane shift aggressively because he's going to get a shield to quickly bail him back out. And sometimes on Ezreal as well, you're not expecting them to shift forward because it's so frequently what costs them. But he'll arcane shift forward, and that catches people out. So they think, there's that split second of thinking, should we turn on this? And then they'll turn, but he already knows that he's getting out with the shield, so he can catch people off guard so well and can move around the map and move around these team fights, I think, more importantly, so nimbly, I think, and with such fluidity that it's, why he is, looking like a top AD carry.
Yeah, especially as of late. I feel like Jackie, even in Split 1 and then, for parts of the start of Split number 2, was a little bit more inconsistent here or there. Like maybe was being a little bit more of a passenger to what the rest of the top side specifically of top was able to accomplish, as Kanavi has been racking up those MVPs left and right this year. But I think as of late, over these last couple of weeks, as we've closed out this regular season, we've started to see a little bit more of that classic JackeyLove, one of the best AD carries that we have in the world. And it was on picks like the Ezreal that he made a name for himself, and we're seeing it again here, leading the damage charts as per expected with over 1,000 DPM.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see that Light in this game, he's never really able to get damage down. This is the constant to and fro of a virus, is that, yes, in late game team fights, if you can hit those front lines, you're going to do very well, but unfortunately finding chances to do that was never really apparent for Light. Breathe getting more damage down than him, and yes, he's hitting against an Ornn for the majority of the laning phase. There's an argument to be made there, but I mean, this was the real yikes moment for Weibo, I'd like to say, to begin with.
Yeah, running forward with the heal and not pressing the ult just like immediately onto somebody. And Era just had a couple of oopsies like that kind of all series long. Weibo were able to find some stuff. Like, this was a nice moment for them as they were able to have a good pop blossom from Erha. They took down 369 early on. But this is kind of all that we got from them. After this, it was really top esports controlled the rest of the way.
Yeah, and that's to speak to how well top esports were playing as well. I think that Weibo had the right ideas for the most part. Like, their engages around that 4th dragon were actually pretty synced up. Airhurt goes in at the same time as we get to see Tian also. But unfortunately, they didn't quite connect on the crucial targets. I think that was the important part for this, is that their target selection actually didn't quite hit as well as they might have liked it to. And we're looking at this team fight here where top esports are completely unchecked, really. Right, I want you to keep your eyes on 369 for the back part of this, if the camera allows us. Because he's actually the one, again, he's taking all of the damage from Light here, and then he's the one that looks and actually looks for that searing charge onto the virus. You can see him knocked up on that wall there. That's all from 369.
Yeah, I mean, the Realm Warp is nice to have the backup, but if 369 doesn't land that searing charge, probably is a bit of a different situation there. So really nicely done by the Ornn in this situation. I feel like I don't want to continue to harp on something over and over again, but another tough game from Xiaohu. Our Spring King, not necessarily delivering once again. He ended up being like 5 levels down to Creme at the end of this game, as he really was unable to find the plays globally, and then also continuously fell behind to Creme on the rise.
Yeah, I think that this is a tricky situation for him to find himself in, because he's demoted to Galio duty. So your job is to be the front line and to go in and die, and ultimately, if giving gold to Tian this game is going to give them a higher chance at taking down JackeyLove, then I think that they should do that. So he's sacrificing resources, almost acting like that jungler when he's playing the Galio, so he's never destined to have the best scoreline, or really the best kills, let's say, the most CS, but even still, the duality of what we've come to know from Xiaohu in Spring versus what we've had, and in this game as well, they're not quite hitting the way that we should like.
And you can even date this back to last year, where Xiaohu really kind of came alive towards that Worlds run that Weibo were able to go on in the end of the season, right? In split number 2 at the time, in that summer split. And so maybe it's just a bit of a flip of the script, a flip of the narrative here for Xiaohu now, as the Spring has again not been kind to him so far, not been kind to Weibo, as even though they found some moments in that first game, they now find themselves down 1-0 to the best team in the league. And you wonder how many opportunities you're going to get to have that gold advantage at 15 minutes against a team like Top Esports.
Yeah, I mean, the criticism I have of Top is that you probably find that more frequently than you'd expect. But we look at our MVP for game number 1. Yeah, JackeyLove getting it definitely makes sense. The Ezreal here with over 1,000 DPM, Arcane shifting forward, causing mass amounts of chaos in the backline. Yes, the backline of Weibo as an Ezreal. Really, really quite a powerful performance.
Yeah, as JackeyLove again really starting to turn into the player that we know him as a legendary AD carry here in the LPL. As Top Esports look better and better as the weeks go on here in split number 2. They're up 1-0 over Weibo. We'll see if they can finish this series out after we come back from this break. But before we do that, we want to give a big thank you to our Coffee and YouTube subscribers who help level up the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it pays on-air talent and content creators. And if you want to support us here on LPL English, you can subscribe to our Coffee. It is linked in the chat to unlike perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews that you see on our socials when they do come through. Weibo in that hole like they have been win kind of continuously here in this second round robin. We'll see if they have any answer against Top Esports when we come back from this break.